So right now I'm going to go through a very brief explanation of meter. The Sapphic stanza I have written out, and the blue is the text, and the red are the marks for meter. So meter is defined, largely speaking, by three things, and they are called shorts, which look like this. They're represented longs, which look like this, and something called an anceps, which can be either a short or a long. So ancient Greek was a very metrical language. A lot of the ancient Greek we have was meant to be performed. So poems, plays, things would have been more sung than how we understand them now. We understand them now as kind of just spoken word poetry or text. But it was very metrical, so they sang it. Ancient Greek was also a pitch language, which means when we in English stress words, we stress syllables. So that's duration of time of things said. But ancient Greek stressed words by having a pitch, which means the tone of their pronunciation actually changed. So for instance, the first word in the Sapphic hymn to Aphrodite is poikilophron. Now, as you can see, I've marked out a long on the first syllable of the word. That means that in a stress, I would go poi, ki, lophron. So I've stressed the first syllable, not the second, and then lophron. So I've stressed the third. But ancient Greek would have pronounced it in a way more similar to raising the pitch of the actual word. So it would be like, poi, ki, lophron, would be something closer to how it was originally made or produced. And in fact, recreationists like the scholar Stephen Dietz recreated this poem in which he did sing the entire thing like, poi, like his pitch went up. So an important thing to understand when we're understanding ancient Greek meter is that we put it in a stress accent. So we're translating from both like a language, because obviously this is not English, but also into a way of understanding how meter works. Because, you know, we do have meter in English. For instance, Shakespeare has meter, but we translate it into, you know, we hold the syllable rather than changing our tone. And that would have been very different in the ancient world. They just wouldn't have done that. So I'm now going to do a little bit of experimentation with both, and hopefully there can be a better understanding of how that actually played out. So in a stress accents, that means I'm sort of holding it longer rather than changing the pitch. It would be poi, ki, lophron, athan, atafro, dita, pai, dios, dola, bloke, liso, mai, se, me, asaisi, me, oniaisi, damna, pot, nia, sumon. So like there are different understandings of how to hold meter and you know, different beats, because essentially a long represents like 2 beats and then the short is 1 beat, and then an anceps again can be both. So obviously if I practiced that a lot and really held the beats, I could, you know, sort of make that a more consistent sound. But that is how it would have sounded to our understanding of how meter works. There are different concepts for meter. It's important to understand that meter is not necessarily an ancient concept. It's just how the ancients understood language to work. So hundreds and thousands of years later, we recreate how meter works with all these different marks because we need to understand a way of speaking that they would have already understood. It's kind of like if somebody had this intense like analytical thing for meme culture today, when we understand that, and you know, nobody needs to explain a Doge meme, we all get that, hopefully. My cousin explained it to me, but you know, hundreds of years from now, academics are gonna have like a list of what makes a meme and how is a meme culturally understood. So once the cultural context is lost, you know, that's why we have these like academic understandings and words and all this great marks and stuff to understand it. Now, understanding a Sapphic stanza, so that's the style in which Sappho wrote, and Sappho wrote in a very formulaic style, is important for meter and other stuff like that. So if we scooch over here, Sapphic stanzas have a very repeating pattern. So they start with the first metron. So each line here is called a metron, in plural metra. They're related to the word for meter. It essentially means just the first chunk of meter pattern. So the first pattern we see in Sapphic stanzas is called a trochee, which are meter patterns that start with a long, short, long, and then an and caps, which can be either. So it's like da, 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 either. So that's a good way to understand it. Then we have a choriamb for the second metron, excuse me. So it's long, short, short, long. So da, da. And then the third metron is short, long, and caps. So da, da, either. And then the so in the third, excuse me, this is called bacchaic. So bacchaic metron is short, long, and caps. And then the fourth is another choriamb. So it's da, 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 da. And that's a way to understand that is, by putting this in stress and by holding the beat, it's easier for our understanding of music. So you can understand this all as a musical pattern. So like da, 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 da. Like it sounds a little silly without any melody or without any, words that we can really understand to go with it. But a good way of thinking it is like Jingle Bells has a meter. So jingle bells, jingle all the way. Like that has a meter. Da, 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 da. If you tried to sing Jingle Bells like how we now perform Sappho, jingle bells, like unified with no stress, it would sound so crazy. And that's what, that is essentially what we've done to ancient Greek, or what survives of us out of ancient Greek. So I've experimented a little bit with different stress meter, and now if I'm trying to pronounce it with pitch meter, which is an entirely different thing, so I'm going to be raising my tone on the longs and keeping my tone kind of flat on the shorts. Poikilofron, afonata Aphrodita, Pai Dios, dolo bloque, risumaise, Maya saisi, made on the icy, damna, potia, thumon. And that's an entirely different thing. And again, please excuse me, I have a cold, so my voice is a little squeaky, but that is the idea. If not how I will ultimately be performing, I clearly need lots more practice.